Hello everyone. Today I've got a slightly different video for you. I'm finding that more and more people are asking me what I think about AI. Often things like, isn't it amazing? Aren't you worried about your job? Or how long until we get artificial general intelligence? Well, in this video I'm going to answer those questions for people I haven't met. Give me a chance to organise my thoughts as well. Hopefully this is interesting, and do get in touch if you've got ideas about whether I'm right or wrong about this, if I'm too optimistic or too pessimistic. First of all, I wanted to address the main hype. Yes, finally AI is here. But is it? I mean, what is it? What is finally? Why is there so much hype and marketing around this right now? It's really difficult to figure out what actually is going on. For a start, AI is not new. It's a subject that's been researched for over 60 years now. In academia, they've been working on this in lots of different institutions around the world. And what we're seeing is really an evolution of long-running research. In fact, I think I studied AI as part of my computer science degree 25 years ago, and that included things like laying out items in a newspaper in the most efficient way and other recursive problems. We looked at expert systems and knowledge retrieval, even in the form of chatbots, if you remember things like Eliza and other interactive AI seeming software. It's evolved a lot over the years since then, but it really is still complex pattern matching. We've added language recognition, machine learning and so much more. But to say it's finally here, really more of an overblown marketing department than any specific innovation. This technology can be overwhelming. It can be really difficult to figure out what it is and isn't doing. And so it's understandable that most of us can be fooled into thinking there's finally intelligence in our computer. But I think this makes it even more important to understand the limitations and what it truly is good for. So to look at the other half of that question, what is AI? How close is it really to an intelligence? Well, like I said, it's something that's been evolving over a long time. In recent years, we've had machine learning, and more commonly now, people are thinking about large language models and related network-based algorithms. The key thing here is to understand the technologies and the ideas that underpin what we're seeing now. And many of them are not actually all that new. The change is how much power we're able to put into the computers that run these systems. It's possible now to pull in a huge amount more knowledge and to have a much broader context when answering a question, which can make it look much more impressive, but is not fundamentally different. The system knows a huge amount of information, but it doesn't truly understand any of it. I believe it's really important to recognise the difference so that we can use it accordingly and understand where it's most appropriate. The source of the seeming intelligence of these systems is that they have, as I'm sure you'll have read in the news, assimilated basically all of human knowledge from across the internet. And then it's able to make some very clever connections between all of this information that it's ingested. In a way, it could be helpful to think about this as a really fast search engine, a way to find facts or solutions based on previous research or documentation that's been made available on the web. This is really very fancy pattern recognition and some predictive maths. No more, no less. It is impressive, but it means that it does some peculiar things, and the more you can understand, the more it makes sense. When there's a gap in the data that it's ingested, it's not going to be able to do something sensible because it's not got the understanding. It's not able to go, I don't understand. It's just going to take all of this and figure out what's the next most relevant potential thing. And this leads to hallucinations. Instead of saying, I don't know, it's going to come up with what it thinks you want to hear. In fact, even more problematic than just this is that the output from these AI models is now being posted on the internet as content alongside the carefully curated and original or definitive articles that it was originally trained on. This phenomenon is now getting the name AI slop, because it's really hard to see good quality out there when it's kind of being churned out based on articles that came before it. And this is having a really big negative impact because the AI companies are training new models to constantly be moving forward, but they're training this on the same content that we're seeing. And so the new models are learning on the output of the old models that were derived from the data in the first place. So they're actually doubling down on potential misinformation. This phenomenon has recently been dubbed AI dementia, where the model is learning something that wasn't true in the first place, but it's reinforcing its own incorrect assumptions. Because of this multiplying factor, we could see that the capability of models may be plateauing already. And that's not even to think about the amount of power it's required just to get to the stage that we already have. So, what about jobs? Is this going to replace us? I mean, honestly, yes and no. I don't think that what we're seeing is something that's going to directly replace people doing their jobs. So it would be really easy to say no. But to repeat what I've heard from a few people in the industry, AI is not going to replace you. But another professional who's using AI probably will. So in that regard, it's really important to get to know what this can be doing for your career. Fundamentally, this is a tool, something that is going to help you in your job. And if you're not going to use it, you're going to get passed by people who are. The increase of productivity can be astounding depending on which area you're working on. Of course, that's nothing new. Tools have existed for eons. It's not exactly new to think that you could pick up something that gives you more capability, a bicycle or a hammer. This is perhaps just the latest and most impressive of the tools that we've used so far. So, reflecting on how these things work, it shouldn't be surprising that these may not be the godsends that people present. If you're working on an esoteric problem, something that's not been done before, or you're working in an area or on devices that are not very well documented, there's not really much that these language models can intake. And so they're not really going to magically just find the answers to something that hasn't been figured out before. That may not sound like much, but even if these AI innovations are pervasive, we can still focus on the really complex problems. We can double down on areas where creativity and lateral thinking are beneficial. And honestly, that sounds pretty good to me. The one area, perhaps, where it is a little concerning about jobs is in early stage career, in junior positions in organizations, where companies are kind of taking a naive money-saving approach to, we don't need junior people anymore, we're just going to use AI agents or models or whatever. Well, I mean, they might be able to do some of the job, but where are we going to get our mid-level people from if there's nobody in the junior positions who is, learning on the job, being part of a team? So I would say to everybody who's thinking about this, it's a tool that can support people of all levels. It's not going to replace juniors, but it could truly accelerate them to a level we've never seen before. And just on to one last thought there, if we just give this enough power, who knows? I've heard that across the board, and some people who should know better are saying if we just have enough energy, we could make an artificial general intelligence based off this technology. No. That's just not what's being built here. You don't take a pattern matching algorithm, give it huge amounts of power, and then it all of a sudden happens to know everything. If you look at the detail about what's being done, it's basically a brute force approach to query all of human knowledge. It's naive and it's very inefficient. So instead of pouring unconscionable amounts of the world's resources into this approach of chasing a ridiculous ambition, I would say to people instead, use your time and intellect to figure out how we can make something smarter that can actually deliver on the promise of a general intelligence instead of just doubling down on where people's money is already invested. So, there you have it. That's my thoughts. AI is certainly an incredible tool to have in your belt, but we need to be realistic and basically leave it there. The more marketing you believe, or the more investment that people put into the energy claiming that they could take this to the next level by reinforcing a brute force approach in this intelligence lookalike, well, the more we do that, the longer it's going to take to get to the next level of research. The opportunity to create something that truly could be much smarter and operate more like we're familiar. You ask it a question and it's able to intelligently propose an answer as opposed to having to analyze everything along the way. It should be so much more efficient, and perhaps we could even have something that really is more helpful. But anyway, that's enough of a rant from me. Please do visit some of my other places online, andy.xyz for my blog. I'll probably write some of this up for new models to consume and learn from, or disagree with perhaps. Check out my other videos. The archive is on YouTube. And consider supporting me on Patreon or just joining the discussion about this topic or anything else that we could cover on the channel. And also check out apptricks.ai if you're interested in the AI-assisted Universal App Studio for building graphical apps. Have fun experimenting, and I hope that you're managing to do something pretty cool with AI.